On this episode of China Uncensored, Confucius says, "Fight the power!" Hi, welcome to China Uncensored. In the war for your mind, I'm Switzerland. Now, many of you may have heard of the mysterious land of Cathay, home to dragons, tea, and possibly the ever-elusive Prester John. But it is so very, very far away. It would take years to reach by camel. By ship, you would sail right over the edge of the world. So how are we in the West to ever know about the Orient? Enter the Confucius Institute. Now, there's a lot of crazy rumors flying around out there about what goes on inside China. Fortunately, the Confucius Institute is here to dispel any misunderstandings and enhance the educational and cultural cooperation between China and the world. The Confucius Institute was created in 2004 by an arm of China's Ministry of Ministry of Education. I make that mistake sometimes because in 2009, a top Chinese official named Li Changchun called the Confucius Institute an important part of China's overseas propaganda setup. So sometimes I get confused whether they're talking about propaganda or education. People want to know more about China, but a lot of schools and universities can't afford to start their own Mandarin programs. That's where the Confucius Institute comes in with a little deal. They have their own teachers and classes that they'll set up for free. Just prick the tip of your finger and sign on the dotted line and your soul will be mine. There are over 400 Confucius Institutes around the world today, and there are plans to increase that number by 1,000 by 2020. So what do schools have to give in exchange for this deal with the devil, if you were? Absolutely nothing. Just let this nebulous organization with close ties to the Chinese government fill the minds of the next generation with information about China with lesson plans like the Korean War, the war to resist U.S. aggression and aid Korea. Trust us. Now, believe it or not, some people are suspicious about the motives of the Confucius Institute. Are we really that untrusting, folks? Now, actually, just recently, a former teacher from the University of Aberdeen who watches China Uncensored wrote to me about his experience with the Confucius Institute. This is Xiaomin Li Murray. For 7 years, he built up the Mandarin program at the university. He was pretty popular with students, as you can see by this Rate My Lecturer page. But even though he was full-time, he was still technically a teaching fellow and working under TA1 status. That means temporary assistance. Basically, he could be fired at any time without any reason. So that put him in a tough spot when the university wanted to cut his salary by 75%. Now, you can imagine he wasn't too happy about that. Enter the Confucius Institute. So the problem was, Xiaomin didn't think it was fair Aberdeen was forcing him to accept an unfair contract after he slaved away for 7 years to build the Mandarin program. Xiaomin was also Taiwanese and often spoke about the political situation in China and Taiwan. So the solution? Fire him and use the free teachers the Confucius Institute brought. Of course, the other 2 Chinese teachers that were from mainland China and didn't talk about Taiwan got to keep their jobs. But so who are these teachers working for the Confucius Institute? Actually, that's a bit of a problem. China's state-run People's Daily has reported that the program lacks enough full-time teachers. That, combined with the fact that it's cost China $500 million since it was started, and, well, not everyone is too pleased with how it's doing. But that still hasn't stopped the Confucius Institute from discriminating in its hiring practices. Even though they desperately need teachers, obviously being so closely associated with the Chinese government, teachers can't be involved with anything the Chinese regime objects to. That was a problem for Sonia Zhao, a teacher with the Institute at McMaster University in Canada, who also happened to be a Falun Gong practitioner. She says she was required to sign a statement saying she wouldn't practice Falun Gong and would defend Communist Party views. When McMaster found out, they were like, that's totally illegal, and kicked the Confucius Institute out. So what would Confucius, the greatest teacher in Chinese history, say about the Confucius Institute? Well, he would probably say that it's a duty of the people to criticize and rebel against their leaders that lack virtue. Most likely why only a few decades ago the Chinese regime launched a massive anti-Confucius campaign and even desecrated his grave and tore down the memorial tablet dedicated to him. They've gotten better at PR since then. So what do you guys think? Should these schools and universities take the risks of working with the Confucius Institute, or should they reject the Institute but maybe not get a Mandarin program going, or have something that's much smaller? Comment below and check out China Uncensored's Facebook or Twitter for more, and as always, I'll be back tomorrow with another new episode. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching.